To start off, I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Yammuna Ragupathy, the new QA release manager of Vansah for Jira app team. And it's been close to 2 months since I started working here. And yeah, it's really exciting to think about this app and the prospective impact that it's going to create with the users and the market when it goes live. So we are just trying to make it better every day. And we are here to share our experiences and knowledge and also the futuristic view, what we have planned for Vansah for Jira from moving on from now. Okay. So primarily the things that we are going to cover is what we really have now, what is there as part of Vansah for Jira now, and what we are planning to deliver to the users in near future, and then our long-term commitments to the users. Now, the current users and the prospective users in the market. Okay. So if you have any quick queries or clarifications to make in between, I'm happy to do that. But I think we should keep our webinar clean and we have our discussions session dedicated in the end, because that will help the users to segregate their clarifications. And if not covered as part of the webinar, we'll walk through that in the end. And so here, if you see this webinar, I've clearly categorized it in terms of different phases of software test lifecycle, so that even a layman or a fresh user should be able to understand what's part of Vansah for Jira and where it is and where can they expect. So ideally, I'll be just walking through the app, the current app, but you can find the respective modules under these respective sections, if you see. And so now let's move on to this requirement analysis. So basically, as you all know, that Vansah for Jira is a test management app which is going to work as a plugin for Jira. So we'll just move on to a Jira instance and then I'll walk through the basic functionality of what we have now. Okay. So here, so once you create a project in Jira instance, say for example, this is a project that I have created newly, and I land on this page. So this will be our first landing screen, and the first action to happen here is to create your issues. So basically, for any project to start off with, it should have requirements, and those requirements will be categorized, created, and categorized in this. Jira has almost handled all of those requirement necessities as part of these boards and roadmap and different kinds of issues. So once you create any issue here, it will be categorized and tabulated here. And once you move those requirements, you have them ready for your activity. So once you start with your requirement, you start developing your requirement, you will find that your testing phase also should start off parallelly. So for any software development, software testing also should start parallelly. So we know that once the requirement is finalized, once the requirement is clear and categorized for which and when to proceed with, we should have the test cases ready for those modules that are developed. So here we come for the first action of the testing lifecycle, that is creation of test cases. So we'll have three different areas where we can create test cases in a Jira project. So once you move and land on the Jira issue screen that I'm currently here on, you will see the Vansah test management section available here. So this will be a dedicated section available inside each Jira issue, which will be allowing you to do different actions corresponding to that particular Jira issue. So if you're seeing here, you can see a plus icon, which is indicating add test cases. So this is the first action that we have to perform here. We are trying to add a test case here inside the Jira issue, which will be directly mapped to the Jira issue. So you will have different types of test cases, may it be functional or performance or UX, UI or something like that. So here I have functional, I created. So now for the creation, you have two different options. So this create will only execute the creation of test case. And this create and edit will create the test case and will open a dialog view for you so that you can add the other features for you. So let me show you the create behavior now. If you see, the create option will be creating the test case. See, for example, sample test case is created here. Instead, if you go ahead and check the create and edit checkbox, you will see it opening a dialog for you. For example, I select this and I do a create. Now it will create the test case and immediately open it for you. So this is the easy approach for the users. If they want to have the details also modified at the same time of creation, they can go ahead with this option. So this will be the screen where you have to manage all your metadata related to the test case. So I'll come to these components and labels a little later, but you can understand the basic structure of a test case. So you will find all the test case related features here. That is the description and attachments, if any, if you have any sample templates or something. And then you can go back to the test script screens. So here you can keep adding your test scripts. For example, this. And then you can keep adding them as in it required. As you keep executing, as you keep getting the requirements, you can keep adding them. Also, is that the very important aspect of this test case execution screen is that details dialog view is that you can add your pictures here, add your images or add your sample templates here in a rich text format. So that's a huge advantage of having this kind of feature in Vansah for Jira. Okay, so now let's move on to the other option from where we can create the test case. Here, if you see, you have one more option to add the Vansah manage test cases. So here, if you can see here, there are two options, that is to link the test cases and to add test cases. So this add test cases also allows you have the same functionality as here. It will allow you to add the new test cases. And if you have any test cases already in your project, you can link them here, which I'll come back to that later. Now I'm coming back to the Vansah board where we have one more option of creating test cases. So this is the primary screen of Vansah for Jira plugin app. So once your project is created and you're connected to Vansah, you will automatically see this screen available, but you won't have any test cases under that. You will slowly start creating the test cases and all your test cases will be visible here. So this is the create test case option like we saw inside the Jira screen. So this is the same behavior of what we saw there. We just add the headline and type and then create. It will all behave the same way as in the Jira issue. Now we have to see one more feature here, which will be a very good add-on. If you see, I think you remember we have seen here when a test case is created, it was creating and displaying it in a form of a dialogue. But here in the Vansah board, if you see, it has opened it in a separate window. This is the feature that we have added to Vansah for Jira app so that the users have a full screen to work with. If it is a dialogue, I think it is clear that it has some restrictions of space and area and also the visibility of all the features. So here as a separate window, you won't have that. You will be allowed to view all the whole complete data here and also the elaborate visibility to all the features. Okay, so let's move on to the other item. Now we are clear that we have created a test case. Let's go back and see what other options we have to include the existing test cases into the project, into the Jira project. So for example, imagine a situation where you have a project maintained under a different app, or you have manually been maintaining your project outside any regular app. You will have all your test cases in your Excel format or a spreadsheet format, which has been maintained manually. So in order to bring all those test cases, that is the existing set of test cases into this Vansah for Jira plugin app, you just have a simple feature where you can import them from the existing spreadsheet into the app. So this feature will allow you to import all your test cases from the spreadsheet into your Jira project. So for example, currently we are handling these headlines. For example, this is the test case headline, priority, description, linked issues, components, step ID, step and expected result. We are also handling labels, which I'll explain you a little later. But if you see here, these are all the primary metadata relevant to the test case. So once your test case is ready and once you know all these details that are relevant for a project, you can just jot them out in a spreadsheet and then save them as a CSV file and then import it. It just starts like this. Just click on begin import and we start doing a validation here. We obviously do a basic validation for all the headline details, priority, all these things as listed here. And if there is any issue, for example, if the priority that you have entered for any test case is not right, we intimate you right here. So you can just go back, do the corrections in your file, and then import the proper file again. Okay. So we just go like this. And then if there is no issue here, we continue to import. So we choose the type. So from here, you will understand your test cases will be imported in terms of type category. Okay. So if you have some 100 test cases in your file, it will be imported based on what type you are selecting here. Imagine I have multiple types in this project, for example, functional, performance or something like that. So I'll select functional and all the test cases that I have imported here will be falling under the type functional. Okay. So I'm doing it here. I click on import. See, all the success, all the 5 rows have been successful. So here there was no failure. If there was a failure, if there was a repetition of headline, or if there was some issues with the linked issues, then it will be indicated here, which the users can correct subsequently. Okay. So now your import is done. So as you saw here, you might also have noticed that when you import a file, for example, you are also allowed to import it with the linked issues. So you just don't have to import the test cases as a common file and then come back to each and every test case to link them. You can simply link the issues right against each test case in the document, and that will be linked automatically based on this import feature. The same for components and labels also. Okay. And going forward, now we know how we have to create the test cases or import the existing test cases into a Jira project. So here, once you have imported, all your test cases will be visible. And once you go back to the issue screen, you will find if the issue was linked to the test case when it was imported, you will find those test cases automatically visible here. You don't have to do any manual action in between. Okay. Now we have imported the test cases, or now we have created the test cases. Now we are ready for the execution. Let's go to this execution part again. Meanwhile, I'll just show you what else is required in part of the requirement analysis phase. So as part of requirement analysis, we really know that we have finalizing and grouping requirements as a primary task. And then the important phase has to be a traceability. So this traceability will come into account once your requirements, the issues are categorized, and then the test cases are ready. So here in Vansah for Jira, this is a future item that we have here that I want to show you. Currently, we have the test cases developed and imported into any Jira project, but we have this traceability in order to cater our users with the matrices. We all know that requirements traceability matrix is an integral part of our testing lifecycle because we need to know all the requirements are being catered to. So this will be a future addition to our Vansah for Jira plugin app. So we are planning to introduce this traceability section in the Vansah board as you have seen now. This will be the Vansah board, and here you will have another option called as traceability, which will allow the users, that is allow you all to view the traceability inside as per your requirements. You can actually make them as a forward traceability or reverse traceability depending on your requirements, on your project requirements. Okay. So this will be a future addition. So you can think over this and you can just suggest us what you think will be effective in terms of introducing as features of traceability. So we are sure that traceability is an important feature that has to be added on to our Vansah board. But if you have a specific idea of this or that has to be introduced here as an add-on, you can kindly suggest us. Okay, we are open to suggestions. So going on, now we have all the test cases ready for our project. So now the next important phase of testing will be test planning. So this test plan will allow us to plan our executions and plan our roadmap to delivery. So once your test cases are ready, you need to document them as and when how it is going to be executed and when it is going to be executed and who will be executing those test cases and as part of which environment and release. Okay, so this will all be taken care of in another section called as test plan. If you see, I have elaborated all these things as screenshot because we don't have them currently available on Vansah for Jira, but they are planned as part of the backlog and they will be introduced in near future. So you can see that the test plan section is available now next to the traceability. So if you closely watch, there is an option to customize test plan table. So once you click on that, you will have the option to customize the details that are available on this table. And here you have an option to create test plan. So once you click on this create, you will be asked for series of questions and fields that you would require to consider for the test plan. And once you have added them all, you will have their details jotted down here and you can directly look into this and start working based on the test plan. Okay, so now we have come to the test plan and test plan is also over. Now let's move on to the next setup of environment. So now you have seen that after test plan and test case development, you have to set up your environment for any test execution. For example, you have three or four different phases of testing. Say, for example, product test, user acceptance test, or system integration test, or something like that. And you want to execute these phases of testing in different environments because not all environments work the same, right? The hardware and the software requirements of the environment will vary from user to user. So you may have to execute all these test cases and you have to analyze your product's quality across a variety of environment. So this environment setup will help you do that. So once your test cases are ready and you have planned for your testing and your particular test phases come up, for example, your PT is ready. So you should have your environment ready for your execution. So let's see how we have to create and establish the environment variables. So we have our environment variables. The primary variables are release, environment, and the test type. So for example, if it is a functional test that has to be carried out in a PT environment under a specific hardware software indication, then you have that categorized in a specific combination, which will be selected for the environment of that testing. So for example, if you go here, this will be handled in the project settings screen of Vansah app. So once you go into the Vansah project setting, that is part of the project setting screen of any Jira project, you will see this screen. You will land on this screen. So once you land on this, you will have all the details that are specific to the Vansah for Jira app plugin. For example, you have your type. You can create extra additional types here using the create button, and also you can modify the existing types. And here, if you see, as I have highlighted for the environments, you have this environment variables listed here. For example, you have your testing executed in different phases of test life cycle, so that all can be introduced here, included here. And if you have a specific environment, for example, if you're executing PT in three different environments, you can classify them also here, so that once you set up an environment, you will execute the test case against that environment. Okay, and here parallelly, I would like to show you one more feature of Jira, which will allow you to set the releases. So once you set your requirements ready and once your product is in line with your release, you will have the release jotted down here. For example, you have some 10 requirements to move in as part of the 20th August release. So you will categorize them under this release. And then if you have a future release that's planned for 3rd September, for example, that will be categorized and classified under this release 3rd September 21. So whenever you go inside any Jira issue, you will be able to see they are mapping this fixed versions. Okay, so that will be the release. That will be the word terminology that we use for Vansah app as release. Okay, so now we'll go back to the setting up of environment. So you know that the environment variables are release, environment, type, right? So now we are going to plan for the test run. As we have discussed so far, we know that our PT phase is ready to be tested and we are here with the test cases ready. So what we are supposed to do is we'll just go select the test cases that are required for to be run for the PT phase. For example, these test cases, the first 50 test cases of this Jira issue has to be executed as part of PT testing. Okay, imagine the scenario. Okay, now when you play on this play icon, that is execution icon, you will be asked to set your release and environment here. So once you set the release, for example, 20th of August and environment is PT. For example, you will have two options here, that is create your planned test run and create and run. Let me come back to this create and run later, but for now, we will create this test run. Okay. Once we create this test run, your test run, planned test run will be created and it will be listed down as part of the test runs tab of Vansah test management section. So you see the latest planned test run will be arranged on top. So you will have your planned test run with all the test cases under that. Those that you have selected will be a part of this planned test run. So you will be allowed to execute your planned test run from here. I'll come back to this edit later. Okay. For now, we'll just look into this planned test run feature. So we have this test run that can be planned. Now what we want to understand is that we have created our environment variables and planned testing is ready. And once our testing is ready, we'll go to the execution phase. I'll come back to this improving test scope later because that will be a future implementation. It's a plan for future. So let us move on to the test execution. Before we move on to any test execution, let me highlight the features of test case elements that are inherited from the Jira issue. I have highlighted about these components and labels, right? You remember? So we'll just see how these components and labels are handled as part of each test case in Vansah for Jira app. For example, if this is a company managed project and you have few components to be considered as part of your release or as part of your development, you will have them categorized as component 1, 2, 3, for example, and that will be mapped to your Jira issue. And also, if you are segregating your Jira issues as part of a specific label, for example, for quick access, you say them demo or functional, for example, as I have highlighted here, you will have them listed against the Jira issue, as you see. So now these components and labels are restricted only for the Jira issue. They won't be available for the test cases unless otherwise you add them. But what we have done now currently is that once you create a test case here, for example, closely watch this. So sample test case 3. Okay, I'm creating a test case and I click on create and edit. As we saw, it will open the new dialog. So you see here, this component and label will be inherited from the Jira issue automatically. So this is a new feature that we are trying to give the users in order to categorize their test cases also as part of the components and labels. So it's easy for them to manipulate and analyze on what part of the component or what portion of the component does this test case belong to, or what label does this test case fall under. Okay. So these are the primary and also if you see the priority is also been inherited. This is also an important feature which was introduced for your users' convenience. Okay, I think you are clear so far. So let's move on with the test case execution. Now we have our planned test run here, listed here as part of the test runs tab. We have two options for executing our test cases. That is, one is planning your test cases for a specific release and environment. And the other one is that miscellaneous test runs. So this miscellaneous test runs will help you to execute your test cases on the go. You don't have to plan for it to be executed in a future time. It just allows you to execute it then and there. For example, whenever you hover over the test case, you saw that the play icon was highlighted, isn't it? So this play icon will get highlighted whenever you hover over any test case. So once you click on this test case, play icon, so you will have these environment variables requested inside. So this I have already executed this test case once, though they are showing me the default setting where I have been executing it so far. So if you wish to change them, you can change them. You can change them and click on apply. So once you apply, your test case is ready to be executed. You can then and there execute your test case, say set it as passed or failed or whatever. You submit your actual result, save it, and if you want to take a screenshot and save it, you can just right away copy and paste. It's the clipboard image functionality kind of. So you will be seeing the attachments saving here then and there. Okay. So if you want to create, for example, imagine this test case got failed, and if you want to add a issue, new issue, which was not listed so far. Imagine it was a bug that you have faced now. You can create it from this screen, create issue. And then once you create it here, you go back, the created issue will be listed here. And then also you can include the already existing issues as part of this. Okay. So for example, let me show you TS. So for example, this, so one, imagine I have included this one. So this was not, so far it was not related to this issue. If you find it relevant, you can link it here. If not, you can create a new issue and then map it there. So this is how it will be executed as a standalone execution. That's what we call as miscellaneous executions. So that will be categorized under miscellaneous test runs. So once you execute the test case, the status of that will be available under the miscellaneous test runs. You see here, this number will hold the details of the latest test run that's been executed. And if you see here, you will be able to see the attachments available, and you can have a quick view of what idea you have about the test case execution. Okay. And also you will also be allowed to download if you have noticed. See, you have the option to download. And let's now go back to the main screen. So now we have understood about the single test case execution, right? So let's move on with the planned test executions. Okay. Now we obviously know we have the options to execute from here, but let me show you one more item that we had put on hold so far. So select these test cases. For example, you have selected 50 cases. Now you're planning to execute your test cases right away. You're not planning to move it to any future date. You want to run them, you want to execute them in a specific environment and against a release then and there. Okay. So you have this option to create and run. Once you click on create and run and then create, it will establish a planned test run folder for it, which will be created here. Okay. And then you will have the same option available in the screen. So once you go back, once you click on that create test run, create and run, then it will create the test run and it will allow you to land on that execution screen. So once you land on this execution screen, you will see this is a new feature that we have introduced for our features. The users will be directly able to execute all the test cases under the selected release and environment instead of going back to each and every test cases and executing them standalone one after the other. Isn't it tedious to execute from here? So we are just trying to make it simple and make it straightforward. Okay. So we are trying to execute it here. If you see here, I'll play this test case and automatically it will indicate the icon. So if you have the test steps here, if imagine we have 10 test steps, it will be listed out here against the test case. So you will automatically be allowed to set the result of that test case, and you can see the planned test runs overall result is also getting affected immediately. So as and when you keep executing these test cases one after the other, you will see the overall test cases result, planned test run result will be updated immediately. For example, imagine this is failing. Okay, I am assigning it as failed. For this test case, it has failed. If you see here, it is indicating the test run number. So this test run number will be assigned for the specific test case, that is C37. For C37, the test run has been logged saying C37 is failed. But whereas when you compare for the overall test result for the planned test run, it has automatically set it to failed in progress. So that is how it will automatically manipulate the overall testing status as and when you keep executing, and then will give you a result. Okay, you will be able to see all these results. So each and every time a test case is executed, a planned test run number will be associated to that. For example, this test case C49 will have the number 2534 associated to it. So like how you have been seeing here for the miscellaneous test runs, in remember you have seen the details displayed here. Let me show you. See, this is the test run. So imagine you come back to the planned test run execution once it's over. You will be able to see all those details here. Okay, that will be our implementation in future. So you imagine you have executed this test case and you go back. You close this and you go back. Okay, now you refresh the screen. See, your overall testing result will be available here. This status is for the overall status for the planned test run. Failed in progress, as you saw on the main execution screen. But then if you expand this, you will be able to see all your test cases with their independent results. See, do you see this? As and when it is executed, you will see those test cases with the relevant status. Since we have executed only two test cases, only test cases are having their respective results there. So now we have done the execution here. So now, so far what all we have seen for execution, we have seen for executing an independent test case as part of a standalone execution, or we select a set of test cases and we plan for a future execution, which will be displayed here, and you can come here and execute. And also then and there straight away planned test execution, right? Like how we did now. Okay, so now going back to the planned execution, imagine if you have executed your test cases for some environment and release, and you have missed something. You have missed to include a screenshot, or you have by mistake updated a wrong data in the planned test run. Then you have the provision to edit your latest test execution using the edit option. For example, you have your planned test runs. So imagine these planned test runs are related to different environments. Okay, this one is for PT and the next was for UAT, something like that. Imagine the scenario. Okay, so now you come back to this and you click on this edit. This will allow you to edit the existing result. It won't open a new execution. It will open you the existing result that was submitted as latest. Okay, so latest result will be open for you, and you can go ahead and you can mark the results relevant status. So for example, you have by mistake set it as failed. Now you have to make it as passed. You see that overall status is getting affected because of that, and you understand, you analyze, and you then finally understand that you have said this mistake, and now you come back, you make it past. So this change, that whatever you do here will be relevant only for this relevant test run and the relevant plan test run. It won't create a new test run or new plan test run. You understand? So once you go back, you have executed that. Now you see the results updating here. automatically. Okay. See, the result has been updated. It is for the same iteration. The name IT is indicating the iteration. So you have executed it once, which set the iteration as number one, and you have edited it again. So which means it has edited the same iteration, not a new iteration. Okay. So this is how we are handling the planned test executions for different phases of software testing. So once you keep your planned test run ready and once you edit them or once you execute them, you will have their reports visible against each test case. For example, imagine you have executed the test case 36 recently. Now you will see the same result reflecting here. It doesn't have to be a standalone execution. It doesn't have to reflect here only when it is a standalone execution. This status icon will also bring in the status of the planned test runs. The test cases independent results from the planned test run. For example, let me show you. Let me just quickly show which test case I have executed. See, it is C37 and the test run is 2535, right? So you will be able to see it here. The 2537 will be here. If you see here, see 2535. So this status icon will be bringing on the latest test run for the specific test case. It need not be a standalone. It need not be a miscellaneous test run. Okay, because these features are important. I'm stressing on these features because it is important for us to understand how the system behaves and from where all the details are fetched in order for you to smoothly operate and function with this app. Okay, so these are the test execution features that we have currently. So in future, so now so far the executions that you have seen, all the executions have been happening inside a Jira issue. So what we are planning for in future is we will be able to execute these planned test runs from the Vansah board itself. So you know that we are able to create the test cases as part of Vansah board. Then why not execute it from the Vansah board? Currently, we may not have this feature, but we are planning to do that in future. So what we are planning to do is, how we are planning to do that is, we are planning to indicate this test repository tree structure as a parent-child folders, which will indicate the requirement and then the planned test runs under it. So each and every planned test run displayed here, when selected, it will display the set of planned test cases that are to be executed for that environment. Okay, so you will have an option for executing the planned test run from the folder tree itself rather than going into each and every individual Jira issue. Okay, that will be our future plan. So if you have any ideas or suggestions for that, you can have it jotted and we'll discuss it in the end. So this will be a future implementation that we have considered. And okay, now I think you will be a better you'll have a better idea about how to execute. Okay, so we have seen this executing a planned test run, editing a planned test run, and then we have obviously seen the miscellaneous test runs, that is standalone executions that's on the go, and then defect retests. These defect retests are the ones that are already as part of the editing plan test run. You remember we have seen this editing plan test runs. We will be allowed to do the defect retests as well as part of the same editing. If not, if you are planning to do it as another run for the same environment, you can do so by creating one more iteration, executing it again, isn't it? From the planned test runs. So this will be the test runs future, that whatever I have explained now, we will be considering to implement the planned test run execution as part of the Vansah board. Like you see here, this will be the test repository. This will be the tree structure that will be available for you on the Vansah board. You will be having the epic or the main story requirement, and then the sub stories and tasks and all your planned test runs listed under them. So once you're clear with your planned test run, you can straight away go into your Vansah board and you can execute them from there. Okay. So this is our future plan for the test runs. Now we have come to the very important part of testing. So obviously for all the efforts that we have put on so far is for a clear understanding of where our product stands, isn't it? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to give our users different perspective of the product behavior with really results displayed in different places. For example, you might have noticed that this itself serves as a resulting forum, isn't it? So each and every time you come and you look into a test case, you obviously see where this test case stands and how it's been done so far. So you will see if it has failed or passed, where whatever it is. Okay. So this will be a quick view of where the test case or where the requirement stands. Now moving on, you will have one more place to look for the plan test runs result as a quick visibility. Okay, so these options on the Vansah test management section inside the Jira issue are the quick view and quick method to make sure or analyze your reports. But we have other options for reports as well. For example, let me show you. Um, these things are part of our recent implementations. If you see, once you execute a test case, it will automatically set a comment here. Have you seen this? So once each and every time I execute a test case, it will send a comment notification for the Jira issue. So if I have executed the test case from here or from the plan test run, wherever it may be, it will create a latest comment here indicating the latest result of it. So it will have these environment variables indicated to you so that it's easy for you to catch up with it. So currently this feature is currently handled only for the manual test executions, but we are planning to implement the automation test results comments also in future, meaning once you execute these test cases automatically, okay, using your APIs, it will automatically set the comment added here from the automated test executions. Okay, so this will be the add-on in future. And now we go back to the next place where we find the test results. Okay, so now you know that against each and every test case, we have the test reports. See here, see these icons here. So these icons also serve as a report for you. Whenever you land on this screen, you will be able to see the status here. We are planning to improvise this screen as the same as that of the Vansah test management section. You see here, the UI is different, right? You have the status, case, this, and all these options readily available for you to change. This is functional. It can be modified here. Imagine you have other values here, you will be allowed to modify. Even the test case priority, you will be allowed to modify here. Once you have modified, it will reflect here. Okay, so the same UI, we are planning to bring it to this screen, to the Vansah board. You will be allowed to change your priority, you will be allowed to change your type, and also you will be easily able to see for which test run the test case was executed and for what was the result, corresponding result. Even now we have an option to view the test runs executed so far, but this was happening from this button, but we are trying to keep it straight and so simple and straightforward on this screen itself rather than clicking on different buttons. We are planning to bring it to the main screen. For example, let me show you the current behavior. For example, this test case C1 was executed, and if you click on this view test log, you will be able to see the latest test run. So this test run that is getting displayed here on click of the view test log will be the latest test run. If you want to go see all the test runs against the test case, you have to go back to the screen. You have to select the case C31 here. See here. Imagine this 31 was executed some 10 times. Okay. So those 10 executions will be available under this C31. So since we have executed it only once, we don't have any information on that. But once you execute it multiple times, you will have all the details recorded under each and every test case. Okay. That's how we are planning to do. So now, this moving forward, this option will be removed. This view test log will be removed, and we have the test results displayed against each and every icon. On click of this icon, you will be able to see the test run window, like how we currently do on the Vansah test management section of the Jira issue. Okay. um, these are with respect to the on-screen day-to-day executions and day-to-day visibility of the test cases. We also have other reports which are a part of our Vansah for Jira app. So let me explain you that. For example, you have executed all these test cases. Imagine out of 50 cases, you have executed this one. So let me go back to this report. We have a section of report under the Vansah test management. I think you might have noticed it so far. So once you run your tests or once you finish your planned test runs, depending on that, the results of the test case execution will be reflecting here. For example, out of these 50 cases, one was executed and one was status passed. So if you go back to this report, you will see that one out of 50 test cases was completed, and the status of that one test case that was executed is passed. One was executed and one was 100% passed. And if you have all 50 test cases executed, the relevant status will be appearing here. Imagine if you have a little more issues related to the current Jira issues where I am currently on. Okay, imagine you have two more issues linked to this Jira issue, and you want to see all the relevant results of the test cases. Okay, for example, imagine you have I can show you the current behavior of this screen for this particular Jira issue, that is VFJ TM268. We have these many issues linked to this current issue, Jira issue. Okay, and if you see here, these are the child issues that are related to this issue. Okay, so we have these child issues and these linked issues. So now if you go and apply filters here, you will be able to see all the test cases related to that brought up to you as a report on the same screen. You don't have to go back and forth you don't have to toggle between multiple issues in order to understand the overall result. You got it? So you will have the overall test cases available, and then those many that are completed, and out of those completed, what are the respective results. So you will have all the results jotted down here for the linked issues and the child issues. Okay, so this is the behavior inside a Jira issue for us for reporting. And also one more very important module of report is that we have already introduced the same reporting feature as part of the dashboards. So we all know that the dashboard is the main screen where we would like to have all our day-to-day activities statuses to be visible, right? So we have this feature of Vansah test report gadget introduced in our dashboard. If for those who have no idea about the introduction of Vansah gadget, let me introduce it to you. So this is the Vansah test report gadget. Like all other gadgets, we have our own Vansah test report gadget, which will assist us in getting the respective results available on the dashboard. So once the user lands on this dashboard, he will be able to see this Vansah test report gadget. So the user can go inside and configure it for the respective project. Say, for example, you are managing some 10 different projects at a time. You can select a particular project for which you would wish to see the report here. And then once you want to view the result only for that particular project, then you can do so. Just leave it as such, just click on save. So that will bring in all the results, relevant results of the execution so far. But if you want to be very specific about a release, environment, or an issue, you can do so by selecting these options. For example, this release and this staging environment, and so particular issue. If you have to specify any particular issue, then you can do so. If not, imagine this will be the output. So if you're very specific about issues, you can go back and you can select the issues for that particular release and environment. Okay. So this is how the Vansah report will be visible for you on the gadgets part. And once you go inside of each and every section, you will see these details are available. The specific details against each and every issue is available here. Though you have not selected a specific issue, you will see all the data categorized under each and every Jira issue. Do you see that? Number of test cases against each issue, completed and outstanding. These will be displayed here. The same for fail rate, pass rate, and coverage, and also the test runs issues. So if you have any test runs issues indicated here, if you have any linked issues under each of the issues, then you will have them available here. Okay. So these are the different forms of reporting as part of Vansah for Jira now. But in future, what we are planning is we will be introducing more gadgets to you for your use. You will be able to customize your gadgets based on components and then based on labels, based on different projects. The same gadget where you were able to fetch the results for one project, you will be able to in future fetch the data for multiple projects. Okay. So you will be able to fetch the data for multiple projects. You will be allowed to select multiple projects in the configuration. So that will be the plan in future. And also you will be able to filter it based on components and labels and such. And the same feature that we saw on the Vansah test report gadget, you remember the Vansah test report tab on the Jira issue? The same feature will be introduced here as well to link all the linked issues and child issues. So for example, if you're selecting a specific issue, for example, if you're selecting a specific issue here, then you will be allowed to search for the a particular linked issues or child issues out of the issue. And then all the relevant issues will be displayed there in the gadget. Okay. So for example, you will have this structure available there. For example, you have this epic and the stories. Currently, what we are doing is we are fetching the result only for the issue directly. If you select this issue, the gadget will represent the data for this issue. But what we are planning to do in future is that once we select the parent issue, all the child issues will be fetched in the gadgets report. So you don't have to go and select each and every issue separately. Also, it will give an option to view a specific issue, but in an elaborate way. You got it? So this is how the test report feature will be enhanced in future. And so you have I think you have a clear idea about the on-screen report so far. We have multiple places of on-screen reporting now. Now moving forward, we will see how we have implemented the export feature. So now we will come back to any story. For example, this story. So once you get into this story, you will be able to see the test execution status on the Vansah test management section. So imagine this this is the issue that I have been working on so far. Let me go back to the same issue so that it's easy for us. So imagine I have the statuses here. I want to share the status with someone of my company or my project. So the easiest method will be to export it and share it with the team. So once I do this, I will be exporting the test cases. See, you will be having the test cases, their relevant status, the latest test results, who it was executed by, and what time it was executed, and additional information, even the steps and expected results. Okay, so this is how we are executing the export feature so that it will be easy for the users to share the details. So this execute feature is here. And then again, going back to the report, we are planning to introduce the same export feature inside this and also for the plant test runs. We will be we will be exporting the results of this plant test runs, individual plant test runs from here. You will have another option to export here. It is relevant to the specific plant test run. Also, if you want to have all the plant test runs exported, you will have another option introduced here inside. Okay, the same behavior is available on the Vansah board also. So if you go back here to the main Vansah board, you will find this export cases feature. Once you export case from here, all the test cases and the relevant latest results will be exported. But imagine you have a specific number of test cases that you have to export. You can do so by selecting on the Vansah board and clicking on the very specific, very narrowed down export feature. So this will work only on the selected test cases. This won't work on the full list of test cases available for the project. So this will be a very narrowed down, very specific export that is available for the users. Okay, and moving forward, we are also planning to introduce a feature of notifying our Jira users. Yeah, I think you must be aware of a notification feature that's currently available for Jira. Whenever we work with any test Jira issue, we are notified with the notifications, right? So we are currently planning to implement the same notification feature for the test executions and planned test runs as well. Once the planned test run is executed and once the results are ready, the overall result will be intimated in the notification, Jira notification. So that will be our future plan. That's currently in our backlog, which we'll be working on. So these are the features that are currently available and those that we have planned to deliver to the users in future. So this is how it is. So just to for a quick run through again, we have currently seen how the requirements are being classified in Jira and how do we group them. And then once it is grouped, how do we do the traceability? But this traceability will come into picture only when your test cases are ready. So once your test cases are ready against each and every requirement, you will be allowed to do the traceability in the screen that will be available in future on the Vansah board. You remember this screen that we discussed? So this screen will be available for you in the future. Same way for the test plan. Once your test cases are ready against each and every requirement, you will be allowed to plan for your testing. So this will be your test plan tab on the Vansah board, which will allow the users to do their test plan activity. And then we saw elaborately as to how to create a test case inside a Jira issue, how to create a test case on the Vansah board, and then when we create a issue inside when we create a test case inside a Jira issue, how do we inherit the data from the Jira issue? We saw these. We have seen how to inherit the values, that is components, labels, and priority. Okay, all these things will be inherited from the Jira issue. So I would like to highlight one more feature here. We saw that already that the components and labels will be inherited into a Jira test case immediately when we create it inside a Jira issue. But not all the time you may be required to see those two fields on the Jira Vansah for Jira test case. For example, for this test issue, imagine you have created a test case, but you don't want to see the components and labels available on this screen. So this can be handled with Jira Vansah for Jira project settings. So simply you just have to go back to the Vansah for Jira project settings screen. Just go back to the Vansah for Jira project setting. And you will have the option to enable or disable those two fields. So once you enable the screen, the options, components and labels, it will be available on the issue screen. But once you disable them, imagine you have disabled them. Okay, so now you have worked on it. And now when you go back to the same test case, you will find that that particular test case doesn't have these fields enabled for them. You won't find those fields available on the test case screen. Do you see that? You won't be seeing the components and labels. This is just to give the users the flexibility to modify the way they have to see the fields on the test case, just to have the flexibility for the users. If they want to see the components and labels, it will be inherited directly and it will be visible for the test cases. If they are not enabled, they will not be visible on the test cases. That's the thing that's related to the inheritance. And Yes, I think we have covered almost all the sections of the software test lifecycle. And yes, setting up of environment variables, introducing the environment variables, and setting up of release and planning the test runs with each release and environment. And yes, this is one more important place where we have planned in future. So you know that we are allowed to plan for the test runs from within any specific Jira issue, isn't it? So now here within a Jira issue, you are allowed to select the test cases and plan for the test run. What if you have the same feature available in the parent issue? Imagine. So this is a subtask of this task, isn't it? This is the parent story. And this parent story is again a part of another epic. So you are currently planning your test runs in the level 3 of your project structure or release structure. Imagine if you have the same feature of plan test run in this screen instead of going to each and every child item, you will be allowed to execute or you will be allowed to plan for your test runs here itself. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to introduce a feature to enable or display all the test cases of the child issues on the parent issue. Imagine, so this Epic will be having all the test cases that are created under the child issues, the relevant child issues. So for now once the button is checked, for example, imagine this button is available for you in the Epic and you have checked this, you will be able to see the test cases under all these three stories in the parent level itself, which will allow you to plan for your test run right here instead of going inside each and every story. Isn't it useful, or will won't it be easier to execute it or plan it from the parent issue rather than going inside each child issue? So that's our plan. That is our idea to be executed in future. So we will introduce that feature, and even the reporting will be easy in terms of planning in parent. The reporting also will be available from the parent. So this will be a very important step in the future for Vansah for Jira. And we really think these additions that we have highlighted so far will be a great add-on to your existing Vansah for Jira app. And what else do we have? Yeah, and this one more thing I would like to highlight in this Excel reports. This Excel reports are currently only feature available for the export item. So we are currently exporting our reports only in the form of Excel, but we have been having suggestions from our users, and also we also have been thinking through what if we have a pictorial representation of our current test executions rather than submitting it or exporting it in terms of Excel format. We would like to give them in terms of PDF or Word format or a different file, which the users will be able to use it right away as a representation for their project status. So that is also in backlog for the future implementation. I think I have covered almost all.
Well done, Yammuna. Thank you so much for that
Thanks, Paddy.
brilliant step through. I can't believe you worked so hard on the advanced board searching more options and you missed it. You
Oh,
really wanted,
yes.
yeah. I think
Yes,
I
yes,
was
yes, that's
itching.
right.
I was itching. So people were getting. Can you just do
Yes,
us a
yes.
demo on that?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, sure, sure. I will do that. Yes, 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 that's right. It's newly introduced here, and it was just enhanced very recently. So if you see here, we have introduced this feature of all the extra filter fields to be introduced as part of more. And once you select all these items, those filter fields will be available for you to work with. For example, you have a component field which will have we have come across some projects where the components are more than 50, 60. So what we would like to do is we have introduced a feature of this displaying the 10 the first 20 components here, and then if the user wishes to see for more options, they will be able to see for further options. Okay, so once you select the component, the data respective to the component will be available here. You see that? So that will be updated. So the same way for the labels and priority and results. So this, let me just show you with the other data. So the past. So once these will be the behavior of the filter fields. So this is introduced newly. So going forward, what we are planning to do is we are planning to introduce release environment, and also we are also planning to make this type and issue as multi-select fields, and then take it back under the more options, so that the users will be allowed to go with multiple issues at a time. Currently, we are facilitating only one issue at a time, which will be moved to the more options with multi-select facility. So that's a new add-on. Thanks, Paddy, for reminding me.
You're right. Thank you. I think I'll leave it as that. I'm sure others may have some questions. And yeah, I don't have any other. Thank you for demonstrating that. It's looking good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I guess if anyone has any questions, this is your time to, well, we're getting some claps, so thank you for everyone. If there is any questions, look, first and foremost, this is an opportunity, not just in this webinar, but that, there will be regular webinars. There is the community platform that even Yammuna has used to present this webinar, as you can see. So we are very driven by the community feedback as a result of helping us direct and create the right features, as we say, that are required by real end users like yourselves as a team. So it's really important that you keep sharing your feedback and comments to the community itself, and we'll be continuously driven based on the votes that people give towards suggestions and certain requirements. Definitely, that has been the focus in the last 6 months, and we continue to see that as being the important way to grow. This Vansah for Jira is not just going to be another tool, but it's going to be a very global solution that we intend it to be, based on the hard work that everyone's been putting into it, used by organizations around the world. That's our goal, and you'll see a lot of marketing happening in the future, especially in the near future, especially when we intend to go live on the 18th of September. So well done, Yammuna. It's a pleasure to have you on the team. You've done a remarkable job with the team. And yeah, look, I guess if anyone has any questions, maybe we give them a chance to ask, or
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, we've gone a little bit over. Apologize, but I think that's it's only normal with these sort of webinars. But yeah, maybe they can unmute and ask questions. Otherwise, if not, until next time, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I have just one question. My question is, I want to ask about, can we have shared steps in Vansah plugin?
Very good suggestion, and yes, we can. It's definitely supportive of that from a back-end design that we have for Vansah for Jira. It isn't obviously something that we're doing right this moment. No, we know that these are. So what you'll see is with the app is the intention is to ensure we go live with the right product that's stable and functional and does absolutely more than the minimum. But the as you can appreciate, a evolving solution is something that you have to have a backlog for, and that is definitely something in the back of our mind. We actually had that feature in the legacy Vansah that some people are familiar with, but it worked really well. But there was a lot of confusion and feedback that it wasn't a good thing to have it. So it was something that we turned off very quickly. We don't want to turn that on at this particular point in time until we are very, this is a suggestion, Tariq, example. Thank you for bringing that up. Bring that up in the forum, and articulate what you think is a good way to have shared steps, why you'd have shared steps, because that's going to be something we missed in the way that we thought of shared steps previously. So yes, if you bring it to the forum, and we will absolutely look into it.
Yes, the main reason for hosting this webinar as part of this community forum is that we also wanted to introduce this forum to all the users, all our users, and also to have the same webinar as a knowledge base for our users to go back to it and view that in future. So this forum has helped us a lot in bringing our app to where it is currently, and it will definitely help us moving forward. So any suggestions inside the forum will be seriously considered, and will be comments will be definitely valued and taken seriously. Thanks for
Thank
all of
you.
that.
Well
Yes.
done. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. See you.
Bye. Bye.